All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at the paradox of consumption and the true cost of luxury. We live in a world where buying things feels, well, as natural as breathing. Today, we're going to unpack the fascinating psychology and the cold, hard, real-world math behind exactly how and why we spend our money, and we'll uncover the true cost of those purchases. It's a mystery we literally all face, right? Why do we spend fortunes on things that actively destroy our wealth? Why do we consciously make purchasing decisions that sabotage our financial future? And what is the actual bottom line cost of those choices? We're going to explore why our brains are hardwired to want shiny new things, and exactly how much that instinct might be costing you in the long run. Section 1. The Consumer Society. The historical roots of our habits. To really understand our spending, we kind of have to travel back in time to see how our environment shaped us. In the 18th century, the Industrial Revolution gave birth to the very first shop window displays. Fast forward a bit to the mid-19th century, and boom, the first department stores pop up in England, turning shopping into an actual event. By the early 20th century, we see massive shopping malls emerging in the US, which was quickly followed by the invention of the credit card in the 1940s. Finally, the 1980s ushered in the rise of what we call the new consumerism. We basically transitioned from valuing traditional community savings to defining our identities through a constant stream of new goods, all fueled by easily accessible credit. And man, this explosion of consumerism led to a massive spike in revolving debt. Just look at the sheer scale here. It's staggering. Revolving debt in the US soared 100-fold from 1968 to 2007. People began heavily borrowing against their own futures just to fund modern lifestyles, completely supported by those easily accessible credit cards. Section 2. The Utility Trap. The Psychology of Purchasing. Now, what's really interesting is why we took on all this debt. The nature of how we compare ourselves has completely shifted. Juliet Shore's research points out that we no longer just want to keep up with the Joneses next door, people with similar income levels. That was the old consumerism. Now, we live in an era of new consumerism, where we compare ourselves to hyper-wealthy, aspirational groups we see on screens. Actually, her research notes that 85% of people aspire to be in the top 18% of income earners. I mean, do the math. That is a formula practically guaranteed to cause frustration for the vast majority of us. So here's the core issue. Our brains are honestly terrible at predicting happiness. This introduces the concept of predicted versus remembered utility. Predicted utility is the joy you expect to get from a purchase. Remembered utility is what you actually experience after the fact. Because we're constantly chasing these aspirational lifestyles, there's this massive gaping hole between the joy we think a luxury good will bring and the harsh reality of buyer's remorse once the initial throw wears off, but the bills definitely stick around. A famous supermarket experiment proved this irrationality beautifully. Check this out. When shoppers were given a tasting table with just 6 jams to try, 30% of them bought one. But when they were overwhelmed with 24 choices, only 3% bought. It's wild. This perfectly illustrates the paradox of choice. Having an absolute abundance of options actually debilitates our decision-making. Section 3. The Ultimate Test. Lamborghini versus House. Let's put our predicted utility to the ultimate test and translate these psychological flaws into cold, hard financial math. We are going to take $250,000 and deploy it in 2 very different ways to expose the true cost of consumption. On one side, the flashy, aspirational supercar, a $250,000 Lamborghini Hurricane. This represents pure status signaling and rapid gratification. On the other side, a modest piece of real estate, a $250,000 house, representing utility, shelter, and long-term equity. Let's see what happens. Section 4, Depreciation versus Appreciation, the 5-year horizon. The starkest difference between these 2 purchases reveals itself when we look at how they hold their value over a 5-year time frame. If we track a $300,000 asset over 5 years, the divergence is absolutely shocking. The Lamborghini's value just drops like a stone, landing around $150,000. You heard that right. A new car typically loses 50 to 55% of its value in just 5 years. But the house? Totally different story. Historically, homes have appreciated at a steady 3 to 7% annually. That means your house could grow to be worth $375,000 to $400,000. As one finance expert puts it perfectly, houses build wealth and autos destroy it with depreciation. Literally, you are practically incinerating money when you drive an exotic car off the dealership lot. You can lose 20 to 30% of its value instantly. Section 5. The True Cost of Luxury. Hidden Fees and Upkeep. But wait, the sticker price and the depreciation, that's really just the beginning. Let's look at the hidden, ongoing costs that completely crush your remembered utility. Maintaining a supercar requires a massive hidden budget. We're talking expensive synthetic fluids, highly specialized repairs, and up to 10% of the car's value every single year just for maintenance. And the insurance? Staggering premiums of $5,000 to $10,000. That makes standard home maintenance and property taxes look like absolute pocket change. Let's summarize what we call the exotic car drain. First, you've got that instant 20 to 30% loss just driving off the lot. Then you add those exorbitant annual insurance premiums, $8,000 to $15,000 in combined annual operating expenses. Seriously, it's no wonder owners joke that Lambo actually stands for lots of money burned often. Oh, and don't forget, it cannot generate any passive income. When you combine that initial depreciation cliff with the endless operating expenses, it hits you. A supercar is a rapidly depreciating liability, definitely not an asset. Section 6. Building real wealth. The final scorecard. Okay, let's pull all of this data together and look at the actual 5-year net position for both scenarios. The opportunity cost here is staggering. The Lambo costs $65,000 in upkeep and plummets in value, essentially vaporizing $125,000 of your wealth over 5 years. On the flip side, the house costs less to maintain, grows to an end value of $330,000, and actually nets a positive cash gain of $12,500. Plus, and this is huge, it provides vital shelter, which saves you an estimated $75,000 in rent. So the contrast couldn't be clearer. A depreciating liability drains your cash, loses value over time, and limits your financial freedom. An appreciating asset, however, builds equity, outpaces inflation, and generates passive income. The math unequivocally proves that our psychological urge to chase aspirational status symbols leads us straight into depreciating liabilities instead of appreciating assets. This perfectly illustrates the ultimate wealth-building strategy. As one expert noted, buy property first, cars later. Let your assets pay for your liabilities. It's absolutely crucial to secure your financial foundation first. Let the income and equity from those solid assets fund your luxuries later down the road. So I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. The next time you feel the pull of that shiny new status symbol, you really have to ask yourself, are you building real wealth, or are you just falling for the ultimate consumer trap? Are you buying your future, or just buying fleeting status? Keep that in mind, make your money work for you, and thanks for joining me on this explainer. See you next time.